Science with Folly.
Hey, tēnā koe. Welcome to Science with Folly. Today, we're going to be learning about how to draw Lewis diagrams for molecular substances. The first two things we need to know about Lewis diagrams is that they only show the valence electrons. And secondly, more than 4 electrons are paired. So for example, here we've got a Lewis diagram of a carbon atom. Carbon has got 4 valence electrons, and we know that because it's in group 14 of the periodic table, and therefore it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 valence electrons, and we draw it like that. Oxygen, on the other hand, is in group 16, and so it's got 6 valence electrons, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But notice how while carbon has got 4 lone electrons, oxygen has got 2 pairs of electrons and 2 lone electrons. So let's have some practice of this. Here's nitrogen, and as you know, looking at the periodic table, nitrogen is in group 15, so it's going to have 5 valence electrons. And this is how you draw them. Number 1 at 12 o'clock, number 2 at 3 o'clock, number 3 at 6 o'clock, number 4 at 9 o'clock. So we've got 4 there, and then we start again, and we've got number 5 there. So we've got a pair of electrons here, and 3 lone electrons. Now let's try chlorine. Chlorine is in group 17, so it's going to have 7 electrons in its valence shell. So we go 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. There's my 7 electrons, and we've got 3 pairs and 1 lone electron. So now let's look at how we use these Lewis diagrams to show molecules. Here's a molecule, ammonia. It's NH3, 1 nitrogen, 3 hydrogens. So we know how to do our nitrogen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because it's got 5 valence electrons. Then it's got 3 hydrogens. We've got 1 hydrogen here, and hydrogen has 1 valence electron. I'm going to put it here, so it's going to share that one with the nitrogen. Then another hydrogen here, I'm going to put its valence electron there, and another one here, I'm going to put it there. So now, as you can see, nitrogen has got 8 electrons in its valence shell, which makes it stable, and each hydrogen has got 2. And there's obviously a pair there. But instead of drawing those paired electrons between the nitrogen and the hydrogens, what I do is I draw a straight line to show a bond. Really easy. Nitrogen, bond to hydrogen, bond to hydrogen, bond to hydrogen, and there's my pair of electrons. Really easy. Now let's try a couple more molecules. To start off with, let's try chlorine gas, Cl2.
Now chlorine's got 7 valence electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'll draw another one over here. Bloody hell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And so what these two do is they share those 2 electrons to give it a pair, and instead I draw it as a bond. Cl bond, and show all my paired electrons. There's Cl2. Let's try one that's slightly more difficult. Oxygen gas, O2.
Now oxygen has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 valence electrons. It's got 2 pairs, 2 lone electrons. Let's draw another oxygen here.
And what oxygen does is it shares those 2 to make a pair, shares those 2 to make a pair, and oxygen ends up with a double bond.
A double bond.
A double bond.
Like that.
I want you to try a couple of tricky ones yourself. Nitrogen gas and carbon dioxide gas. Why don't you pause the video and do it yourself?
I hope you got them right. So remember, nitrogen with 5 electrons in its valence shell, it's got a pair and 3 lone electrons. It's going to share those 2, share those 2, and share those 2. So it's going to have triple bonds, and that's how you draw it. And what about carbon dioxide? Well, carbon, 4 valence electrons, oxygen, 6 valence electrons. Carbon's going to share those 2, and those 2, those 2, and those 2. So we get 2 bonds either side of the carbon, and that's how you draw it. 2 double bonds, carbon dioxide.
So there you go, that's Lewis diagrams. Make sure you watch the next video where we look at how these Lewis diagrams help us understand the shapes of the molecules. Ka kite anō, see you real soon.
Science with Folly. Science with Folly.